General Keane, to another flashpoint. We have had US Speaker Nancy Pelosi visiting Taiwan to support the democracy, even though China says Taiwan is actually Chinese territory and it is threatening revenge. Here is its foreign minister.
It is an outright farce. Under the guise of democracy, the US is infringing on China's sovereignty.
Nancy Pelosi is now flown out, and China's Navy has ringed Taiwan, declared live fire zones for a so-called series of exercises that are virtually cutting off the island in every direction. How dangerous is this?
Well, this is a very frustrating experience here for the fact that the United States kind of bungled this from the beginning. Certainly, Speaker Pelosi has a right to go to Taiwan, in my judgment. I'll come back to that subject in a minute. But what happened here in the United States, for our audience to understand, is if we're going to go to a place like Taiwan where security is going to be an issue, as it was in Iraq and Afghanistan, what our senior people do is they don't announce or schedule the trip publicly, and it's not announced until they land in that country. And that is what took place with our presidents and senior leaders in Iraq, Afghanistan, and also in Ukraine. That is what should have happened here. But it got leaked. And secondly, the president of the United States here made a public comment in response to a question, Andrew, and he said, well, you know, about the speaker's visit, he said that the United States military isn't in favor of it. And as a result of that, that is when the Chinese got spun up and saw a window of opportunity here, because the government seemed to be bifurcated. The speaker wanted to go, the president didn't seem to want her to go, and they put all this rhetorical pressure on worldwide, certainly focusing on this issue, thinking and hoping certainly that the speaker would not go, that she would stand down, and the PRC would have a huge propaganda victory, particularly given that President Xi is going into the National Party Congress in October to be enshrined for a third term, likely indefinite. And they saw this as a huge opportunity to deflect the criticism that President Xi is receiving over COVID-free lockdowns in China, which are very disturbing to the people, and the slowdown of his economy, which is beginning to also impact on the people. So that is what took place. She has a right to go there, and now the Chinese are certainly taking some action, given the fact that they weren't able to achieve what they wanted, and that is to get the speaker to stand down. And they have surrounded Taiwan in a sort of a quarantine or blockade, using 4 days of live fire demonstrations to achieve this very public end in terms of repercussions. That is kind of where we are. I don't think it's going to lead to conflict. That is just remotely possible. I don't see that on the horizon. Certainly China doesn't want this crisis to grow heading into the National Party Congress here in several weeks. But so your audience understands, though, the United States self-censors itself in terms of its speech when it comes to Taiwan, not even be willing to indicate that Taiwan is an independent country, which we know it is. Secondly, we self-deter ourselves in terms of visits. We know full well in this country that we have war plans to defend Taiwan in the event that China takes action against it. And that still is a presidential decision, whether we do it or not. But the war plans exist. But none of our senior policy leaders, secretaries of the state and their assistants, Secretary of Defense and his military assistants, the Indo-Pacific commander, who you in Australia are very familiar with, does not visit, nor key leaders in the Indo-Pacific region. We do not synchronize Taiwan's defensive plans with what our plans would be to come to their assistance. That is absolutely grossly irresponsible that we don't do that. This is self-censorship in terms of words and self-deterring in terms of actions. And it really has to stop, given what we've seen, what the Russians have done in Ukraine, and how ill-prepared we were in deterring that from happening. We have got to get our act here together and help Ukraine with arms and munitions now, help them with training, and help them also with how to plan properly for a potential conflict.
Well, if you don't do it now, it's even less likely you'll be able to do it later when China is even more relatively powerful against the United States. I mean, you can't let this keep hanging on while China catches up. This is suicidal.